Oscar. I'm going to film a video, Stop Chewing on the Plants. Today I'm going to answer a question, how often do I water my houseplants? I get asked a lot that question, and there are a lot of variables around, so stick with it to the end because you'll probably want to catch them all. I was an interior plant technician for a couple years. I maintained plants in offices. I have taken care of thousands of plants. And now I only have 3 in my home here in Santa Barbara because I have a garden and I get to garden year-round here, so I only have a few. But the first thing I want to start with is how warm your home is. If your home is really warm, your plants are going to dry out faster than if you keep your house on the cooler side. The other thing is air. If you have a lot of air movement in your home, plants will dry out, the soil will dry out faster. Here I get to have the windows open a lot, so that dries them out a little bit faster. This is my Dracaena marginata. I think I watered it about 2 weeks ago. I don't keep my plants on any kind of a schedule. I just water them by instinct, but that's because I've been doing it for so long. Another variable is the amount of sun. Do you get a lot of sun in your house, or do you not get a lot of sun in your house? If you don't get a lot, you aren't going to need to water your plants as often. And also the time of year. Now it's spring, I'm getting more light in the house, so you will need to water your plants more in the summer months when there's more light coming in. Also too, another thing that I want to say about the how the seasons affect houseplants is that in the winter, the cooler months, the plants are resting just like they are outside. They aren't actively growing, so their roots are resting a bit. So you naturally back off on the water a little bit more in the winter time. Do you have moss or rocks covering the soil of your plant? If you do, those hold the moisture in a bit more, so you want to water less for sure. Also, the size of the pot is a big determining factor. If it's in a small pot, in like a 2-inch pot or a 4-inch pot, it's going to dry out a lot faster than something that's in a 14-inch pot. For instance, I just have this because it sits high up above eye level. I don't have any kind of top dressing on it. This is a tall 6-inch pot. Also, the type of pot, what it's made of, if it's directly planted into clay, it's going to dry out faster because clay is porous. Something like ceramic, plastic, fiberglass, it's more sealed, so the air can't get into it as much at all. Something else is the soil it's planted in. This is in a potting soil that is, it's been formulated for houseplants. It has a lot of perlite in it, which is those white specks, and that amends the drainage. Other times you'll see plants, especially the larger plants, will have orange rock in them, tiny orange rock, and that's a lava rock. That's what the growers use to plant those in, because the water drains out of it faster. So if you have a heavier soil, you're going to want to water less than like something that has a lot in it to amend the drainage, because ideally you want to water, give it a good watering, and then have it come out of the bottom, but not sit in the, you don't want it to sit in too much water in the saucer. Maybe 1/4 of an inch is fine. You don't want the roots to be waterlogged at the bottom. And it's better to do it thoroughly rather than splash and go, splash and go, splash and go. Like if you have a glass that has water, your ice cubes have melted, and you have a little water, and you're just constantly throwing it on the plant every day or every other day. That's not the ideal way to water your house plant. The type of plant is a big determining factor. That's why you should know what the water requirements are for your plants. For something like a snake plant or a jade plant is going to need a lot less water than, say, something like a pothos or a spathiphyllum, a peace lily. Those all need average water, whereas the ones that I mentioned before like to be on the drier side. You might want to check out my book, Keep Your Houseplants Alive. I explain this all in my book too, so you might find that a good resource, especially if you're looking for a houseplant or two for your home. It explains it all clearly in there. If you have some brown tips appearing on your plant, that's just normal. It's because of the reaction to the dry air. I've had the house all closed up for the winter time. I haven't had the windows open too much. Now there's more good air coming in, but that's because they are native to the tropics and the subtropics, and our homes are not the subtropics and the tropics. Now, if you get a lot of brown appearing on the edge, that might be because you have a lot of salts and fluorides in your water, and in that case, you want to use distilled water is probably the best thing. There are other things you can do. If you have a lot of houseplants, then distilled water is not like an economical way to go about, but there are other options to that. I just wanted to bring that up to you. If you have more questions about that, I can do a separate video about it. Most plants require what is known as average water, and that is watering every 7 to 14 days. I err on the side of watering too little than watering too much, which is what a lot of people do. A lot of people overwater their plants, and that is not good because the roots need to breathe. That's where they get their oxygen. Oxygen actually comes into the roots too, and if it's waterlogged, they can't breathe, and we need to breathe, and the plants need to breathe. They breathe up here and they breathe down in the soil too. So as I said, I water mine by instinct, and I don't water all 3 of them at the same time either because they dry out at different times. I wait until the top half of the soil has dried out, and then I will water it again. Some I water every 12 days. I've got one I water about every probably 20 days. I will probably water it a little more often because we're getting warm now. So that is something that I said that plays into. You'll probably want to check your plants more often in the warmer months. So if you're totally confused about watering plants, you might want to schedule it, or at least schedule to look at it. Put it in your calendar every 7 days. Check plants, check plants. And that way you know, and you might not need to water them, but at least you can check them. There's also apps you can download on your phone that remind you to water your houseplants. So that might be an option. There are also lots of different kinds of water meters, and that is something that has a probe, and you actually stick it in the soil, and it'll tell you dry, it's good, it needs water, and they tell you different things depending on what type of app you have, but it basically will tell you if the plant needs water or not. So I hope this video has helped to answer that question for you. It's sort of a loaded question. It's sort of like, how often should I wash my hair? There are a lot of variables that go into that, so there are some things you have to think about. I didn't want to say, oh, just water your plants every week, because they may not need to be watered every week, but you do need to check them, or at least be mindful of that, because they can bring such beauty and such life into our homes. By the way, I am going to list all these points in the post in a blog post that I do a post that goes along with every video, so you can check it there. I will leave the link down below for you in the description box. I thank you so much for watching this video, especially if you stuck with it until the end. And be sure to subscribe and come back again, because I have a lot of videos waiting for you that you're going to find both informative and educational. I can't wait to share things with you. Bye!